Revolutionize your cooking with the Tefal Infrared Air Fryer. Watch as your food crisps up through a large lighted window and delight in faster, crispier, and juicier results with no preheating thanks to Tefal's advanced infrared technology. Discover the future of cooking and bring innovation into your kitchen by visiting Tefal.com.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Boobies. Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we are here to talk to you about
Child's Play 3.
Yet another Child's Play.
I keep wanting to call it Chucky. Can we just call it Chucky 3?
Chucky 3.
It needed like something like Chucky and like something military. I don't know. Like
back in action.
Yeah, something like that. Chucky strikes again. I don't know. But
yeah.
Chucky 911. No, I'm just kidding. So we are following the whole Chucky storyline, and we are taking a time jump here because this is set quite a few years after we left off in Child's Play 2.
Yes, but it's only came out 10 months after the Child's Play 2 came out.
Yeah, I think in
1991, I believe.
They started like the production of it and everything like as soon as the other one had like wrapped, I think. Something like that. Yeah, it's a really quick turnaround. I guess the Chucky mania was real.
Yeah. And what is his name?
Don Mancini.
Yeah. He says that this is his least favorite of the three because he had like no time to think about it and like really was out of ideas and stuff by the time like he was having like forced to write this one. And I think it kind of shows.
Yeah, most definitely. I think there's a lot of moments in it that are kind of weak sauce, for lack of better terms. And even just kind of like the storyline itself is kind of weird and it's just kind of out there. And there's a lot of like, how did we get here? How did we get here? How did that make sense? How does that make sense?
There were some cool deaths, though. I will say that.
Yeah. And definitely, I mean, they weren't afraid to just take some risk, I guess, really at this point and really just like kind of throw things at the wall and just see what stuck,
Yeah. This one was directed by Jack Bender.
Jack Bender. That name makes me think of the dude from the robot from Futurama.
Oh, yeah. Isn't his name Bender?
It's Bender.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's starring Justin Whalen this time as Andy. We've got Brad Dourif still as the voice of Chucky. Little Tyler's played by Jeremy Silvers. And then Travis Fiennes plays Asshole Man.
Shelton.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
And then I have Donna Eskra here, but I don't remember who she plays because I don't think she plays De Silva.
No, De Silva is Perry Reeves.
Yeah.
I don't know who. Oh, Donna is Jackie. Jackie Ivers, but I don't even remember a person fucking called
named Jackie. Yeah. But she was listed like way higher because then it went to like Carnival Kid 3. And I was like, I'm not going to write that person's name down.
That's interesting. No, yeah. She just had higher billing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's all stuff that's like in contracts and whatnot. But the Silva girl looked really familiar. But then when I looked into her, like I hadn't seen her in anything else.
Maybe she
like,
just has one of those faces.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because she did look kind of familiar.
Yeah, I was like,
she kind of looked like every girl of the 90s.
Right, because I was like, oh, that's that young, like, and now and then I was like, no, that's not who I thought it was.
You know who she kind of looks like? The girl from Charmed who just passed away.
Oh, Shannon Doherty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that, like, back in the day.
A little bit.
I love her. I love Charmed.
Yeah,
currently watching Charmed. Like, I'm currently going through it. I'm almost at the end of it. Yeah, I'm in season 7, and there's 8. So
I used to watch it every morning. It would
come on TNT.
Yeah, and it would be on like early, like so I'd watch it while I was getting ready for school.
Me and you were watching the same thing, getting ready for school, Caitlin, and we didn't even.
We were twins.
That's so.
We were soul sisters connected.
I would switch between that and then like VH1 and
One
MTV.
Jumpstart.
Yeah,
same. I almost said that too.
Because MTV would sometimes just be a little bit too like hip hop for me. VH1 played the more like I don't know, like off.
Varied.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had Fuse. That was the best for punk rock music. Pop punk. I don't think I had Fuse. But yeah, I didn't either.
But I know what Fuse was.
My friend had it, so we would watch it when we were getting ready at her house.
Childhood. Wow. But yes, all of that.
Yeah, but we start basically in an abandoned good guy doll factory. The same good guy doll factory from the end of 2. But it's like clear that it's been a long time because everything's covered in like layers of dust and cobwebs.
Yeah. It's definitely been abandoned. The way that like they're also just knocking everything over, just trying to clean everything up. Yeah. And we have them basically whenever Chucky died at the end of Child's Play 2, and his whole little body was just kind of left there in a like conglomerate of, plastic. They pick it up, and it's kind of also weird how it gets like, and then like the blood starts coming out of it and everything.
Yeah.
So it was still like fleshy, sentient. I don't know. After all that time,
living after, yeah, I know. Like, I feel like the blood would have dried up, but
yeah,
okay.
We're gonna accept it.
Yeah. And so pierces him and the blood starts leaking out and it leaks into the vat of like wax. And it starts like boiling. Boil, toil and trouble.
Boil. Yes, and it starts bubbling, but then it starts to look like a smoothie.
Yeah, because then we just like circling down and down and down, and then we go into this like red mixture circles, and then we get a title card.
Child's Play 3. After it's
pretty
right in the middle. Creative? Or
yeah.
Or not, I don't want to say that, but pretty like anticlimactic, I guess.
Yeah. It was just like, very, like word art. There's the title card.
Yeah, like rose art, like clip art from back in the day.
Yeah. But then we do get some like, so we get the blood like moving with the wax, and we realize it's starting to form a complete doll, and it's all like shot like backwards.
Yeah.
And so it like, I guess they melted down a doll, but then like they shot it backwards or rewound the footage, and then it's like this wax is coming in to form a real doll, a good guy doll.
Yeah, and all that Chucky blood is getting mixed in there and all that shit and creating Chucky, which I still don't understand, but okay. And also like how did it only get into one doll and not into like a mass production of
all the dolls? That would have been cool.
Well, something that I know. I guess I'll just say it right now. I don't know if it's in your fun facts.
Oh, I haven't pulled up my fun facts for today.
Well, that idea he did want to use that idea here, but just couldn't execute it. And that idea does get used in his Chucky show. Because there's a Chucky series. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I do know that.
That's neat. Because, I accidentally clicked on an ad. That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
But
I think it would have been too. But, we get what we get. And we don't throw a fit.
Yep. Okay. Going back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier. Under pressure from Universal, screenwriter Don Mancini was asked to begin writing the third film even before the second film was released. Hence, the picture was released only 9 months after Child's Play 2, 1990. Mancini has called it his least favorite because he felt he was out of ideas so soon after the second installment. Kind of what I said earlier. But yeah, so it was before the second film was even released, he was starting to write the third.
Wow. So yeah, they were on it. They said, we want more money.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to bleed this sucker dry. Just
and
like
they really did.
Chucky got bled out.
Everyone else, yeah. And well, he bled out a whole bunch of other people along the way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get that, like, all the cool backward shots. I feel like there's a more official term for that, but I don't know what I can't think of it. So
yeah,
cool backward shots. But then we go into Chucky's mouth as he screams and comes to life. He's like, so mad that he's, I think, yet again inside a doll body.
And then that's whenever it cuts to the board meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're in the board meeting and we're with a bunch of executives and they're basically talking about how the good guy doll was their best-selling doll, and it was affected by the story that had happened back with Andy. So it kind of did hurt their sales a bit, and they had to kind of, do some, what's that word when your business does like
rebranding,
like, trying to keep stuff hush-hush, and they're dealing with a scandal. When you're dealing with like a scandal, crisis control, stuff like that. And so
hush money.
And so well,
they should have paid Andy off.
Well, they
should have got a fat check.
Yeah, unfortunately his mom just got silenced and sent to a loony bin.
Yeah,
and they just kind of were just like, well, whatever with Andy, because I guess he was so troubled in himself, just hopping from foster home to foster home, that he necessarily wasn't even a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it seems like he was trying to run away from the whole Chucky, like, all of that trauma, right? And then it just, like, obviously Chucky found him again, which sucks.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, it's 10 years later and you're like, not this fucking doll again.
Yeah, I know.
Poor Andy.
Very unfortunate.
It's giving Sydney from Scream. Like, it's like every other 10 years it's like someone else trying to kill me. God damn.
You always think that you're done and then nope, surprise.
Yeah, but the board meeting, yeah.
But yeah, they're reviewing the case of Chucky and Andy, trying to put the doll back on the market. And they're like saying the fantasies of one disturbed boy can't mess with their product. Andy has ancient history. No one remembers him. Nobody cares. And so they ultimately decide to move forward with putting the doll back on the market. And I don't remember his name, but one of the guys in the shareholder meeting was like, I don't agree with this. And I don't think that we should put this doll back on the market, and let it be known that I don't agree. Yeah.
Like, but also, like, didn't he say, like, just in between them, like, not even in front of everybody though?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, pretty staunch opinion, but he's telling him this, and then the boss is just like, basically, he don't give a fuck. He's like, I don't care. And it's basically like the same situation how in the second one when he told the guy to like shove the Chucky up his ass.
Yeah.
And at this point he was just like, fuck Andy. Like, nobody fucking cares about Andy.
Yeah.
And then they end up gifting him the first brand new good guy doll,
which came off the assembly line, and it turns out it's Chucky.
It's Chucky, because he ends up going back to his office. He was like, returning, doing his things for the night, drinking some whiskey, having a cigar. He's trying to watch the news. And then Chucky comes out and starts fucking with him. And almost immediately we're like, all right, well, he's about to get his, because for the past like 2 movies, he's just been kind of a dick. But also, he's kind of the reason Chucky's alive. So why would Chucky kill him?
Yeah.
Think about
I don't know. I think Chucky just has bloodlust.
Yeah.
And wants to take it out on everyone. And probably couldn't get out. I guess he could have gotten out of there without being seen. Yeah, I think he just wants to kill everyone. He's a serial killer at heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Serial strangler.
Lakeshore Strangler.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, watch it now on Prime Video.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Yep. So he's getting that drink. Chucky's gone from the box, and he's like golfing, and Chucky runs kind of in the background, and then the TV turns off, and he's like searching under the couch for the remote, and Chucky hands it to him. But like you can already see like he's got like back issues, because every time he sat down, he was like, "Oh,
yeah, me."
He's groaning and stuff, and so whenever he stands back up, we saw Chucky grab a thing of marbles earlier and pours out all the marbles, making him slip, and then basically sends all the toys out at once, which I was like, how is he controlling all of these toys at the same time?
Yeah, his little ass Chucky. Maybe because he's a part of the toy company, he has like sentient control over them. That's something they never explained. I don't know. But yeah, and obviously CEO, I don't remember his name, he's just kind of like wigging out, but also still not acting appropriately like spooked to me.
Yeah.
And then
he was a little like, his reaction was underwhelming.
Yeah, like just kind of a little like anyways, but then he finally sees Chucky, because Chucky comes out and he's like, don't fuck with the Chuck.
Don't fuck with the Chuck.
Yeah.
And he hits him in the head with the golf club. And then he throws a dart at him as he's like crawling away.
Which also, would that like knock someone down?
I guess if he already had back issues, and then it like hit his sciatic nerve or something. And
yeah, because he went down like he got shot.
Yeah.
And then
I imagine it's not a pleasant feeling, but I don't know if
who's never been shot with a dart before, who's like, yeah, I don't think it'd be that bad.
That's kind of what I was thinking at the end when De Silva gets shot in the leg. I was like, girl, calm down.
It's just the leg.
And then I was like, oh, I've never been shot. I probably would be crying.
Right? No, I think about that all the time, and like think about like, damn, Like if I were to get shot, like or like in situations where, you know, you think of like, what if the robbers came in right now, or what if this and that, and you like, how would you defend, or how would you do that? But like, yeah, if I got shot or stabbed, I'd probably be down for the count.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But he throws that dart at him, and the CEO's crawling away, trying to reach for the phone when Chucky comes back behind him and chokes him with a yo-yo.
A yo-yo.
A
Not this
yo-yo.
man being killed by his own toys.
And he says, nothing like a strangulation to get the circulation going.
Yep. And our old CEO is out. He is dead. And then we move to, quite rather quickly, our military school.
Yeah, because he looks him up on the file on the computer.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, see, he's gone to military school and he's 16 years old now.
Also, that did strike me as odd too, is that like, why would they have Andy's information, I guess?
Yeah, I was wondering that as well.
Yeah. But
I was like, that seems sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And like a corporation shouldn't have access to it. But
Most
what
definitely.
do I know?
Most definitely.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, so we're at Kent Military School. He's 16 years old, and we're with the head honcho man, whose name I also forgot.
I only called him like Colonel.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of his rank, so I just called him head honcho. But he's asking Andy why he moved from foster home to foster home, basically, and is trying to, I feel like, kind of like scare tactic him, fearmonger him, and just like, you know, it's time to forget these fantasies of killer dolls. Like he
has no idea what he's gone through, and yet he's still trying to like really dismiss it, you know, and then also bring in the whole, you know, when I was like the whole biblical and scripture shit and all that. And it's just like, baby, like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, you don't even know the half of it. And the way that he's like, probably like, I've experienced life and this, and like the way Andy has experienced way more than he has in his like 80 years of life. And like Andy's done it. And like, by the time he was like 8 years old, like having been almost killed, having to run for his life, having to protect his mom, having to lose like all of that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, very unfortunate life he's had in these 16 years. Yeah. And once they get that like situated and stuff and he gets settled in, we cut to a really weird guy shaving a big head. Yeah.
He's so intense for no reason.
Yeah, and just kind of unsettling. Like, just he was very, it felt almost inappropriate. The way he was like, yeah. And I was like,
he definitely got his kicks off from like being like whatever that was, like a power, like the
power trip,
and just cutting their hair, which was weird.
Yeah, because then later on when he's walking around and like pulling the people's hair, and stuff, it just felt very creepy. I don't know. I was not a fan of him. When he died, I was like, yay.
And he died in the best way, like the most, like, with his own, like, you know, blade and everything. It was good. It was cool.
Very Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, very much that. Which is why I think the dude did it. Mancini, I think. I read that somewhere or saw that somewhere. Or maybe I made that up. But yes. Because I saw that somewhere. I know I did, because I had to look stuff up to remind me of like what had happened, because I watched this a couple weeks ago. And also like this one was also kind of a bit, I'm not gonna lie, like at times I felt like I was having to force myself to kind of like keep my attention at it, because it was just kind of like the story almost felt like the first two almost had more of like, I don't want to say heart to it, but like something that kind of even kept me more in. Maybe it was because Andy was a kid and I felt more like, oh no, Andy, you know? And this one, there was just so many like teenagers and stuff that it just wasn't necessarily as like the stakes weren't as high, or I don't know. But yeah. And so, yeah, shaved head dude. And then he ends up meeting Tyler, and because he's waiting there, or either he's waiting there to get his haircut or he just got his haircut.
Tyler
And
just got he
that's
was a
right.
kid getting his head shaved
That's right.
at the beginning.
And then as he's sitting there, that's whenever we see the good guy doll commercial on the TV. And that really like triggers Andy. And then
Yeah. He has
little
like a full-on
Tyler,
traumatic episode.
little Tyler is all like for it though, because he's super enamored because he hasn't had a negative experience with a good guy doll. And he's like, ooh, I want one, you know?
And he's like prime age for
Mhm.
good guy dolls and stuff too, like prime market, target audience. But yeah, and then now Andy's got like a flat top haircut.
Mhm.
I was surprised they didn't like buzz his head.
No, for real. I thought that was the whole point.
Yeah, he was like,
But
"Oh,
okay.
I can see skin now."
None of
And
them had
so,
like buzz cuts. I feel like.
yeah, except for one guy that he mentioned, he was like he in the mess hall
Yeah.
whenever they were eating, he like rubs his head and he's like, "Attaboy."
You know, I don't like buzz cuts. Not for me. But we have him then going to his room and meeting his roommate, who is Whitehurst. Well, Whitehurst comes in it. No, that's right. He meets Whitehurst is in the fucking closet because he gets fucking stuffed in there.
Yeah, because you hear this like banging on the closet door, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, did he find them?" And then he opens the door, and his roommate falls out, all tied up and like bound and gagged. And we find out that someone named Shelton did this to him.
Yeah. The bully, essentially, who is their leading sergeant or commander, whatever.
Yeah, lieutenant colonel or something like that.
Yeah, just having a serious power trip.
Yeah, and I was like, how is this okay to abuse your power like that? I feel like it's probably pretty standard in the military, but
I think that's standard. Yeah. I think that's pretty evident with like our current government.
Yeah.
Just abuses of power in any situation, in any type of setting, I think is the whole deal. But yeah, no, unfortunately he is just, and it's so like unfortunate that like he literally just takes most of his shit out on, like, he's an asshole to kind of everybody, but he specifically targets Whitehurst. And like even here in a little bit, because Tim and Whitehurst kind of talk for a little bit, they kind of, oh, welcome to the new spot, oh yeah, these are the jocks, these are oh yeah, this is Shelton, he's like, he's kind of getting a little bit of like, the lay of the land.
Yeah, and he says, welcome to hell, Barclay.
Mm-hmm.
Barkley.
Oh, and then they get to share their first names with each other, which I think kind of is like a little building moment for them, bonding
humanizing
moment. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to them being out, what is that called when you're out in the yard and they're doing their formations and stuff, and they're tin hut.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's called exactly. Yeah, he is Lieutenant Colonel Shelton.
Lieutenant Colonel.
But yeah, he's out there and he's kind of inspecting all their uniforms and stuff and making sure they're standing at attention correctly. And he's walking by all of them, but then he kind of stops in front of Andy and is like, "You new here?" And he says, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh God, he didn't say yes, sir." Like,
he's just like, yeah, and he's just smiling. Yeah, that's me. And Mr. What's his name? Fucking Shelton doesn't like that. And he just starts like yelling at him. And I don't remember like what all he says, but he's just basically, berating him.
He's like, "Lieutenant Colonel Shelton, sir."
That's
because he's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, he says, "Do you know who I am?" And he goes, "Shelton." And he goes, "That's Lieutenant Colonel Shelton to you, sir, to you."
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he kind of moves on after yelling in his face to Whitehurst.
Oh yeah, that's right. My bad. To Whitehurst. Yeah, and then that's when he starts like saying like really despicable stuff to someone.
Yeah, he's just being mean, and Andy's like looking all around, and I was like, "Andy, keep your head forward, God damn it, he's gonna say something." But then De Silva speaks up first, and she's like, "You asshole." And then Shelton's like, "What did you say?" And she said, "I said, you asshole, sir." And I was like, nice.
Yeah, I love how she doubled down.
Yeah.
Instantly became favorite character.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, and then he ends up making her do like 20 push-ups or something, 25 push-ups or something like that.
Yeah,
and
25, and like the last 3 were one-handed, or 2
Mhm.
were one-handed.
And he's trying to make it seem like you girls like think you can get away. No, I'm gonna make you do, stuff just like the boys. And I mean, she's taking it in stride, and she's just like, I said what I said, because he was acting like an asshole.
Yeah, he was, and she handled it incredibly well. And you can tell right away that there's some chemistry between the two of them, between Andy and
Kind of
DeSilva.
give looks to each other.
And I was like, he got the hots for her.
At this point, we also have this commanding guy giving Tyler a package, because Tyler was like over there and they're just kind of having a little chit chat. Also kind of getting the vibes that Tyler is like someone important's kid. That's might be why he like is like this little kid, just kind of like, kind of favorited by everybody. Is that, if that makes sense? It kind of seems like everybody's looking out for him, almost in a sense.
Yeah.
And then we have him getting this package, and he's like, hey, this is for Andy. It's a new guy. Can you make sure that this gets to him? And it's obviously, a good guy doll package, but Tyler takes it, and he's, on his way, making his way downtown, faces past. And then he ends up getting to like these stairs. And when he gets to them, he accidentally, did someone bump into him or push by him?
Yeah, he bumps into several people along the way. And I was like, damn, this box is going through hell. And then he bumps into that person.
And
And the
box goes flying.
Yeah.
Down the stairs. And poor Chucky's in there like, fuck. And then he picks it up because he notices that as it fell down and like some of the paper packaging had ripped, that it's a good guy doll. And as any child, anybody would, if they found $1 million on the floor, they would pick that sucker up fast. And he ran off into the armory and ended up keeping it for himself because he unboxes it and he meets his new pal.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
Chucky, he bursts out and his first words are, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
And Tyler's like, "I thought you only knew 3 sentences."
I love how at this point Chucky just gives no fucks. He doesn't even care to pretend to be like the doll.
No, yeah, he just was like ready to. He was immediately trying to get out of this.
Yeah,
body,
which makes sense because at this point this is his third attempt. So it would kind of be lackluster for following the same kind of journey, I guess. But still, yeah, it's just funny to me how he's just like from the get-go too, even earlier when he's just like killing the CEO and he's like, don't fuck with Chuck. He's really just hell-bent on getting well to Andy, but since he's here with Tyler and he's now met Tyler, he now has a new plan. Because which doesn't make sense to me either, because why would he want to be inside a little kid's body when he could be,
so he has more time to live,
more life? Oh, yeah. Okay. And so he ends up wanting to tell Tyler his new secret, which he ends up doing. So he ends up telling him his name. He's Charles D. Ray. And at the same time, we are back with the rest of our teenagers, and they're at shooting practice, target practice. And while they're doing that, Chucky is with Tyler, and he is already trying to do the voodoo like soul swapping incantation. But we are thankfully saved by the dude from the beginning, the Colonel, who is he's a colonel, right? Anyways, the colonel who was like giving the scriptures earlier. And he finds Tyler in the armory, and he's just like, one, what are you doing with the doll? But then he's also like, little boys don't play with dolls. But that's also kind of a lie, because that's a good guy doll. Anyways.
I feel like the intention was for little boys. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I digress. And they leave. He ends up taking the doll with him. And as he's walking out and going back, I guess, to, the office, poor fucking Andy sees little Chucky just like hanging by the arm there, just, going into wherever he's taking him.
Yep. And he ends up dropping his gun because they were at like gun practice. I don't know. Rifle positioning
rifles
practice. And he gets laid into and like reamed out for dropping his rifle, and he's like, a soldier's rifle is his best friend. And then we cut back to head honcho man putting Chucky in the garbage, and he immediately gets thrown into the truck.
Yeah, that's right. And
I was like, damn, is he gonna get compacted?
No, because he starts crying out like as if he's a little kid, and the poor trash guy who's operating the whole, machinery, he thinks that there's a little kid in there, so he goes in there, stops it, and is trying to find and dig for this kid that's in there. But Chucky ends up turning the machine back on, and this poor trash man just gets like fucking compacted to death.
Yep. His arm gets snapped off, and then he gets smushed to death. And all the kids, like, they hear screaming, and so they come running, and they see the like blood pouring over the side of dripping down over the side of the garbage truck. And it's just like, oh shit, yeah, he got smushed to death. And then very quickly we transfer and switch over to him talking with Whitehurst, his roommate, and he's polishing the shoes for asshole guy on the chair, Shelton. And we can that made the weirdest sound. But yeah, then we see basically that Chucky was somehow in a box. Oh. And he was in the chest in the room, because you see him like peek his head out earlier, and then Andy's like putting away his stuff because Whitehurst was like, you better put your stuff away. Shelton does random inspections. And so he was putting away his stuff, and he goes to open that same chest, and he's conveniently gone. Then you see Chucky's little hand grab a knife, and Andy sits down on the bed and is like, just kind of going through his stuff, and Chucky's under the bed and comes up and like cuts his Achilles or something, but must not have been that deep, because like he's perfectly fine the rest of the movie. Yeah. But I guess just grazed him. And Chucky pops up and he's like, I thought we killed you. And he's like, you just can't keep a good guy down.
So funny. He's so quick with the one-liners.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever they're kind of having a little, because Andy's like, like, you can't have my body, I'm not going to let you, whatever. And Chucky's like, I don't need your body, actually. I'm going to fucking kill you because I have a new plan. And he doesn't outrightly say it, but then Andy is like, Tyler, like he puts two and two together. And then he says that he's going to stop Chucky. And so they kind of start like going at it. But then Shelton walks in, and Shelton is just like, what the fuck is going on in here?
Yep. And he's attacking Chucky, and Shelton's like, what are you doing? And grabs the doll from him. And he's like, I'm going to give this to my kid sister. And I was like, not a good idea, sir.
Nope.
So then he like leaves off with the doll, and so then we see Andy like stalking the halls with a knife and then breaking in Shelton's room.
Yeah.
And we notice that he's got like a wall of knives, and one of the knives is missing from it. And he's looking everywhere. Like he checks in the closet, hears something on the window, kind of freaks him out. And then he's going to check under the bed, which I was like, what if he's there and just like stabs him in the eye or something? But he didn't. And he then ends up being behind him, completely catching Andy off guard. And he's like, Andy, and whispers his name in his ear. And so Andy like freaks out, makes him fall onto Shelton's bed. And Shelton, of course, wakes up like, what the fuck? And is livid, to say the least, that this doll is missing, that somebody came in and stole from his room.
The doll that he stole.
Yeah, the doll that he stole. Now he's mad that someone stole it from him.
Yeah. And then that's whenever he ends up. Why do I have my next note is that they're outside in the rain?
Yeah, he's making them like march in a circle and like having the guns up above their heads, the rifles up above their heads and stuff, just trying to make one of them break and admit to stealing the doll. But then Andy breaks off from the group and goes to look for Tyler, but he ends up getting caught
by Shelton, right?
I don't know if it was Shelton or if it was his like right-hand man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but he ends up getting caught. And then he ends up getting in a fight with Shelton. Oh, hi, kitty.
You come say hello, Suki?
Meow, meow, meow.
You say meow?
She is a beautiful kitty. Oh, look at her. She takes up the whole screen. I think this is because at this point, doesn't he get in a fight with Shelton?
Yeah, or whoever finds him, they end up like, whoever finds him like kicks him in the groin, and then he goes and punches the other guy back in the face. And stop chewing on my cords. And he ends up going and gets back in the circle and is doing all the little things after like punching that guy in the face. The guy was like, you better get back in that circle right now. And then freaking Chucky goes in and finds a little note on Tyler's bed that's like, Charles, come and find me, your new best friend Tyler, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so funny. It made me laugh so much.
Yeah. And he's like walking out through the thing, and he eventually finds Tyler because Tyler's like, Charles, come and find me.
It's Tyler so like
over here,
innocent and cute. Like this whole movie, like he's just like, he gives me SpongeBob vibes. Like he doesn't even know like the killer is literally after him. He's literally playing with the killer. Yeah,
he's like, this is fun
for real.
He's truly an innocent child, but like he thinks something kind of like Andy was in the beginning before he realized Charles was a bad guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then he's hiding in the like head honcho guy's office, and then we see the two girls, De Silva and her friend, come in. Maybe she's that Jackie
That's what I was
girl.
thinking. That's literally what I was just thinking. Yeah, that probably is. That would make sense.
Yeah, and they are sneaking around and they're looking for Andy's file, it turns out.
Yeah, because they're nosy. Snoopy. Yeah.
She's just trying to figure out more.
Because she likes him.
She does. And then she's just about to read the headline about the killer doll when they find Chucky and Tyler in the closet, and they're like, get out here. And then she puts lipstick on Chucky, which Chucky is not a fan of.
No, not amused at all.
He says this means war.
And he ends up getting out of there because they end up having to run off because the old colonel is coming back. He looks like the dude from KFT, and he ends up coming into the room, and Chucky scares him, and Chucky tries to kill him essentially, but before Chucky can even attempt to kill him because he's across the room, the old man has a heart attack from seeing him, and
because
falls back.
He was on edge because the pencils had fallen off the table, and he picks them up, and then he sees that doll that he threw away earlier on the ground there, and so he takes them. It says something, and he's like I'm your friend to the end or whatever, and he's like, oh, and then he throws the doll in the trash can, and then the trash can moves. And then he sees him wielding that knife, and it gives him a heart attack. So I think he was already probably in poor health.
Yeah.
And then anxious because a lot of little things kind of built up. If I saw a doll that I threw out, I would be suspicious.
Yeah.
Especially if I watched it go into the trash truck.
Mm-hmm. And you specifically were poof. But yeah. And so poor old man, Colonel, he's down. He's no longer with us. And we end up we are now at breakfast time. And I think that's whenever, did they announce it? No, they don't announce him being dead. Not yet. Do they? No. It's just that, him being dead or anything like that.
Yeah, they have a little announcement.
Okay.
And
did I make that up? Okay.
Yeah, and then they're in the mess hall, and they have a moment of silence for him and stuff, and then they sit down and start eating their food, but Andy gets up rather quickly trying to go over to Tyler, but in the process someone trips him.
Yeah.
And then but he eventually makes it over to Tyler, and he's trying to tell him that Chucky is bad news. Mm-hmm. And basically Tyler is having none of it.
Yeah. I don't believe him, obviously.
Yeah.
Because that's his best friend.
Yeah. He's like, Charles Lee Ray, we're best friends till the end.
Yeah. And then that's whenever we have Whitehurst going to get a haircut, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
because the haircut, this is where the haircut guy comes around pulling everyone's hair, and he comes up to Whitehurst, whose hair was definitely not as bad as some of the other guys.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're the most disgusting piece of shit I've ever seen. You better come to the haircut room right after mess hall.
Yeah.
Or after breakfast. And it was his hair's literally, Andy's hair is longer than his.
Yeah, literally. This dude was all kinds of just weird. But anyways, he ends up then giving him a haircut.
And a haircut.
Doing all of that. But then as Whitehurst leaves, Chucky ends up popping out because he's here now. And him and the barber start to have. How is it that he gets there? How does he pop up?
He's just in one of the cabinets, and then the haircut man's looking through the cabinet, and then he pops out.
I remember now because you could see his little silhouette.
Yeah. And
yeah.
He's like, this haircut's not up to regulation standard. So, and then he gets his clippers and he's going in to cut Chucky's hair. And this shot just kind of cracked me up because he was coming in. And there was 3 shots of that, of him just getting closer and closer.
I kind of wish he would have gave Chucky the buzz cut.
Yeah, I wanted to see it.
Chucky buzz, yeah.
But before Chucky can get his hair cut, he cuts his throat.
Yeah. Very Sweeney Todd, as you said.
Yep. And then, of course, as he's sitting there dying, and Chucky hops out of the chair, and he's got the clippers in hand and stuff, Whitehurst comes back in and sees everything.
Literally everything. And Chucky's just like, boo bitch. No, he doesn't say boo bitch, but he says something like that.
Yeah, he just says boo.
Yeah. And then Whitehurst just like runs off scared.
Yep.
And joins the rest of the gang as they're I guess getting ready for start war games.
Yep, they're getting ready to start the war games, and like you see Chucky pop up through the window and he has bullets, and I was like, this must be what Josh was talking about.
Literally, yeah.
The paint ammo with the real bullets.
Yeah.
And he falls back in line and is clearly flustered. But he won't admit to anything. Andy's trying really hard to get a confession out of Whitehurst to say that he saw Chucky, and he just won't admit to it.
Yeah, even though he did.
Yeah. And then we see Chucky replacing all the red team's ammo, paint bullets with real bullets.
Mm-hmm. Which is what I remember. And also, if I remember like back more and try to dig deeper, I think why it was even more like not even like what's the word, like it almost felt even more like just a bit of a dream for me is because I saw it in Spanish. It was on a Spanish like Telemundo or something like that when I saw it. So not only was that happening, it was in Spanish, so it felt like a fever dream, I guess.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously Chucky means business. He is really trying to fuck these kids up because I guess what would have been in there was like paint or something, right? It was like paintballs.
Yeah, they were like paintballs.
Yeah. So bullets, live rounds, definitely gonna be bad news for us soon. Foreshadowing for sure. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And basically they make it to their respective camps, and they're like having little like get-togethers and stuff. And then Andy and De Silva kind of sneak off. She shows him an amusement park, and then he hears a twig snap and he freaks out, but De Silva's like, there's nothing there, it's probably just a chipmunk. And then he's like, are you scared of nothing? And then they just start making out.
Yeah. As they should, because they're teenagers, and you know what? It's you know, that's what happens. I don't know, honestly. See, also like she's the only girl with like although like basically most of, I guess Jackie was there too, but I don't remember them focusing on like any other girls or seeing any other girls other than her. So yeah, it's just kind of a given. Our main guy, only girl, they're gonna kiss.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're having this moment. At the same time, I think we're back at the camp, and Shelton is like, where the fuck is Andy? You know, so he thinks that because Andy's not there, that he's a traitor or something like that.
Yeah, like, because they end up going back to camp, and then he tries to get Whitehurst to come with him, but Whitehurst is like a chicken, and he says, no, I can't go, which I'm like, you're smart, dude. Because clearly you've seen this thing kill someone already. But Andy is going to find Tyler, who's on the red team. And
that's right. Yeah.
Then and he stole the map from Shelton's tent. And so he's like, Shelton thinks that Andy is a traitor, and he's gone and like defected to the red team.
Mm-hmm.
But so Andy's going to look for him. Oh yeah, but sorry, Chucky has already got to Tyler.
Yeah, no, you're good. Sorry, do you hear those dogs? The dog barking? Sorry, let me just do something.
But yeah, he basically, Chucky's already got to Tyler, and then the blue team starts like running out, and they are coming.
He was like, sorry, he was like responding back to me, and I was just trying to be like, can you please be quiet? And he was like,
no, I cannot.
Literally.
That's funny.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so the blue team starts rolling out, and then they all kind of split up. He sends De Silva and someone else off to like look somewhere. Yeah, look for Andy. And then Andy almost finds Tyler and Chucky, but Chucky tells Tyler to duck. And at this point, Tyler still thinks Chucky's nice. But then Chucky pulls out the knife And he's like, listen here, you little shit. Because Tyler said, I don't want to play that game anymore. Switch the soul or find the soul.
Yeah.
Hide the soul, whatever it is. He didn't want to play. And Chucky's like, listen here, you little shit. You're going to play this game. And then that's when Tyler's like, oh, Andy was right. Yeah, you're not a good guy.
Yeah. Totally heartbreaking for little Tyler because his dreams have been shattered.
Yep. And he ends up stabbing Chucky. And he just stabs him right in the little chest, but of course not on his heart side. And then he like runs off and screaming after Andy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chucky is like dying, but not dying, he's just injured.
He's bleeding.
But then he finds Da Silva.
Yeah, and then he starts attacking Da Silva. And he gets to her, and then that's whenever now Chucky like basically has her held hostage, which one I don't understand how a dog holds someone hostage. But is it the gun? Did he have a gun? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he ended up getting a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just had the knife and like surprise, the element of surprise.
Yeah,
I think got to her.
It gets to Silva, and he's basically got the walkie-talkie, and he's telling the guys because Shelton's then like listening in, and he's like, "Hey, like I got your girl, like come over here, or I'll kill her," or something like that. And then that's whenever Shelton's like, "Who the fuck is that? Who is this?" And he's like, "This is Charles."
Yeah, because Andy and Tyler run up to the group. Andy gets captured by the group, and then Tyler comes up running like, Andy, you're right. He's not a good guy. And then he says like, who's that? And then they're like, that's Charles. And he goes, Charles. And they end up like, okay, we're going to take this seriously because Tyler's freaking out kind of thing. So, and then he comes on, he's like, I've got Da Silva. So they come up with a plan for capture. But what they don't realize is that he's got a grenade. A fucking grenade.
He's lost his mind. But yeah, they end up getting to this like trading places type of situation meeting. And as this is going on, Shelton can finally fucking see that Chucky's a fucking doll at that. And then we have Da Silva and Tyler trading places, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then at the same time, shit just kind of hits the fan because then the red team is also here while all of this is happening.
Because he radioed earlier to the red team to be like, rendezvous at this point, the blue team's gonna be there so you can get them, basically, knowing that he put the real bullets in their guns.
Yeah. And so unfortunately for our leading commanding whatever, Mr. Shelton, as he's standing there and finally gets the reveal of like Chucky being real, red team unloads a round and it goes right through his fucking chest.
Yep.
Up, and
they kill Shelton.
Drops like a fly. And it happens all so quickly because then they start shooting other rounds. But then they start to realize that they're real, and even like from both. First, the blue team is like, "Holy shit, these are real rounds!" And then before the red team can notice, they unload at least probably 20 of them, and then they stop.
And then someone's like, "These are live rounds."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh shit." So they stop. Yeah. And then in the commotion, fucking they go and check on Shelton after he's down. But then in the commotion of like realizing that Shelton's dead, Chucky throws the grenade, which he had pulled the pin out of the grenade earlier, so we knew it was live. And Whitehurst surprisingly gets a stroke of courage, throws himself on the grenade, sacrificing himself for his teammates.
Yeah, which is also really crazy to think that like if the grenade doesn't like if it would have just gone off, it would have blown up like a lot of area, but like because it was in his
Smothered.
tummy, it just only blew up him.
Yeah.
But it kind of baffles my mind because I still feel like the power of it should still like, but I don't know. I guess not. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. But yeah,
Right?
he blows himself up.
Yeah, so poor Whitehurst is dead. And kind of deservedly because he was so like
He was so
literally like
scared the whole rest of the
yeah.
movie, and then all of a sudden just got this random stroke of courage and was like, I'm gonna do this, and then ends up getting himself killed.
Which he obviously knew, right? Because also
Yeah.
like I don't know. That's just a lot. That poor guy. He literally pulled the short end of the stick on every aspect.
Yeah, he
But
did.
Tyler then because earlier we saw that, you know, when before the kiss, what's his face? Andy and De Silva were together and she showed him, you know, the carnival and he was like, oh, I forgot places like that exist. Well, anyways, now Tyler is at that carnival from earlier and Andy and De Silva run off and they go find him there. And then this turns into essentially what is like it's almost the same as the last movie's ending. I feel like same formula. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
chasing him through and like going through crazy scenarios until
Yeah.
they can eventually kill him. But yeah, like Tyler runs and finds the security guard at the park. And then the security guard's like, look what I found. And it's fucking Chucky. And
Yeah.
so Tyler's like, ah. And but we don't get to see that. We just see like we flash over to Andy and De Silva looking for Tyler, and then they see the security tent and they're like, maybe we should check there. And they walk in to find the security guard killed, and we see that Chucky is on the loose. And she grabs the gun. De Silva grabs the gun from the security guard's holster.
Yeah.
So we've got a gun now.
Janie's got a gun.
Janie's got a gun.
And they end up finding Chucky on this haunted ride, right?
Yep, because Chucky directs little Tyler into the devil's lair.
Yeah, rightfully so. And they end up getting in there, and it's a very like cat and mouse situation, like kind of the rest of the movies when we get to this type of, you know, Chucky's after Andy, but now he's after Tyler. And then we get out, then we start having like a shootout.
Yeah.
Basically throughout the ride. Also, weren't there just people on the ride?
Yeah.
So like all this happening, there's just like shots being rung, and then like Chucky's just trying to maniacally kill this child, and he ends up someone cuts Chucky's face. The roller coaster or something cuts his face off, right?
Yeah, because he shoots De Silva.
Yeah.
In the leg.
In the leg.
Gives Andy the gun. She gives Andy the gun. And then Tyler's leg like gets stuck in a hole. And while he's like stuck in that hole, we watch this Grim Reaper have a giant scythe, and it just like swings down like a little pendulum. And but Chucky didn't realize that. And then Chucky's face gets like half cut off, and Tyler's just like, ah, because Tyler's, we found out, a little bit of a scaredy cat. Because everything in this ride has been making him go like, oh my God. So
poor guy. I mean, he's what, 8, 10, maybe?
Yeah.
And he's like 16.
He's young.
And so he ends up, then we're at our showdown. And this is also like a huge ass like carnival ride type of situation, because also like the setup is elaborate, and there's like now a volcano.
Yeah. Yeah, a giant volcano thing that Tyler's stuck on with his leg stuck in the hole. And or he like starts climbing up it, and then he gets knocked out because he slips and falls and hits his head. And so while he's on the ground, Chucky takes a perfect opportunity to just start chanting and playing Hide the Soul.
Yeah.
and Andy's like climbing the pile to get to them, but falls all the way back down. And then you get a little bit of foreshadowing whenever you're like, he falls next to the fan, and you're like, oh, that fan's going to come into play because it's moving hella fast.
That's an idea.
And so he falls all the way down, and then seemingly the hide the soul is working because the lightning starts striking.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, not the lightning strikes.
Yeah, he's making his little spell happen, but at the same time that he's doing all of this, fucking Andy is remembering his training that he got at this military academy, and he's like, talking to himself, he's hyping himself up. He's like, all right, and then he ends up unloading a little round, and it blows Chucky's arm off.
Yeah, he misses the first time.
The first, right? Okay, and then he blows his arm off the second time. Not in the heart, and then he ends up shooting him again, and the second time there's enough force in it, or he gets him in a good spot where he like ends up flying back, and then
knocking him off Tyler, thankfully.
And when he falls all the way back, he ends up falling into the fan that we just saw, and he falls back, and then Andy is like, Tyler, are you okay? And then all of a sudden Chucky pops up onto Andy's back and has got him with his one arm and is like, wah! I imagine his little legs were going crazy. And freaking then Andy like almost drops Tyler in the surprise. And so he's like holding on to Tyler, who's dangling over the fan. And he finally, Andy gets the knife that Tyler's been trying to hand him, and he freaking stabs Chucky, cuts off his hand, and then drops Chucky into the fan, and or like bucks him off of his back. Basically, Chucky goes falling, his little sleeves like in the air, because he's missing his arms and hands, and freaking the whole place I guess it like had little explosions set with it too, because then it like obliterated his body, and the place is just full of his body parts just everywhere. Cut me into pieces. He's just tiny bits.
I said tiny bit, not big bit, tiny bits.
And so thankfully Chucky is now dead. He's kaput, or so we think. And then we have our ambulances come. They start to tend to Andy and Tyler and De Silva, and it's a very, very like okay, yay, like it's dead. He's gone now.
Yeah, De Silva asks him like, "Are you going to be okay?" And Andy's like, "Don't worry, I've been here before." And they're like, all right, son, time to come with me. And they take him off for questioning. I guess they put him in the back of the police car because yet again, he's attached to a slew of murders. Yeah. And then we just end panning out on the carnival.
Yeah. And that is Child's Play 3, the end.
The end.
Not as thrilling as the second one, not as thrilling as fun, I think, and not as kind of new and exciting, I guess, as the first one. I don't know, this one, like I said, was almost felt like kind of like a chore to watch, unfortunately, because it was just kind of like okay, like what's gonna happen next? Okay. And not that the characters were that horrible or anything. I think everybody honestly even did like a good job. Like even like fucking Shelton played an asshole, made me not like him. Whitehurst played this guy who gets picked on, made me like him because I felt bad for him. Andy was good. De Silva was cool chick. Like everybody did good. It's just the material that was there. It was just kind of like a bit, like you said, he didn't have enough time to write. Probably
it felt like an afterthought.
It felt rushed, and it felt kind of like just like maybe someone had this idea, and it might have been a good like I don't even know. Never mind. Like this just seems like an idea that probably should have been scrapped and they should have redrawn and like came up with something a little bit more elevated, maybe. Because there's so many ways you could go, with the whole Chucky storyline and everything like that, and even Andy's storyline. And what if they even did it to where like I don't even know, because also it's still ongoing right now, so they're doing stuff now anyways, like with the whole Chucky show, and then obviously there's, they did pick it up and take it in a different direction with the Chucky series, with Chucky's Bride and the Seed of Chucky and all that.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think more in like comedic type of direction.
Mm-hmm.
Still with like horror elements, but this one was just kind of like meh for me, and that's kind of like I kind of like feel like, oh man, because the other ones were so like fun and cool, and like we gave them really good reviews. But honestly, this one was kind of like a 2 for me, if that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I thought it was cool to finally see like what I did remember from when I was little from watching that. And I mean some of the deaths were pretty cool. I kind of got a tickle out of him killing the truck, like the trash man. I don't know why. I thought it was just kind of like I was kind of snickering. But
it was cool death.
Yeah, it was. I was just like, damn, Chucky like stone cold. Like he's just like heartless, like ruthless. Like like he's just kind of like the type of villain that you almost want to root for, because they just kind of like just have no like limits, no like, he's gonna kill a child. Yeah. So he just kind of goes there. So for that, I mean, Chucky is always a badass. This movie did have like 50 one-liners for him, like totally his catchphrase movie. Out of all of them probably. And I did, I do appreciate that from the get-go. Like they didn't try to play it up like, is he alive? Is he not? Like, is he no, like it was Chucky was like, I'm here, and I'm gonna fucking cause mayhem, So from the get-go, I like that. But yeah, honestly, it's just a 2 for me.
Fair.
Okay.
Fun facts.
Yes, ma'am.
This was the first film in the series to use computers to aid in Chucky's puppetry in order to perfect the lip syncing. And I could definitely kind of tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and not like necessarily in a bad way, but like he did seem more like CGI as compared to.
There were some enhancements.
Yeah, the old school puppetry that we used to have. The movie was the center of a tabloid panic in Great Britain, with one newspaper, The Sun, even demanding existing copies be burned. Journalists claimed the film had influenced 2 10-year-old boys in their murder of a young child, 2-year-old James Bulger, although it was later determined that neither had actually seen this film.
Oh, wow. That's kind of how it usually goes.
Yeah. They just need to blame it on something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. John Ritter was originally supposed to appear as a security guard at the Good Guy doll factory in a sequence where some kids sneak into the factory and discuss the Chucky myth. Ritter later appeared in The Bride of Chucky 1998 in a supporting role. And then this was apparently one of my fun facts. Don Mancini initially wanted to introduce the concept of multiple Chuckies in the movie, but due to budget constraints, the idea was eventually scrapped. Mancini later used this concept 26 years in the future for Cult of Chucky in 2017.
Yeah, I was like, I remember I saw something like that. I really do want to check out the TV show, but
yeah, it seems cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The box office disappointment of this movie, it made only $20.5 million on a $13 million budget, is the reason why there was not another Chucky movie for 7 years until Bride of Chucky.
I mean, that makes sense. People probably burnt out a bit. It's probably the same thing as like with the Marvel movies and everything right now. Like people get tired of seeing something, even if it's like, really good or exciting. Like people need a break.
Yeah. This is apparently Brad Dourif's least favorite movie in the series as well. But he had so many kind of catchy one-liners.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But yeah, so that's my fun facts. I think for me, I was sitting around a 2.5 for this. Definitely not my favorite movie I've ever seen. If you're into the Chucky lore of everything, you should watch it. Just so you can have everything explained. But it did just feel like, okay, here we go again. And it's like, how many times are we going to have the same idea play out?
Yeah. Almost felt like filler movie. Like if it were like if you put them all together, it's like a filler. It's kind of like, yeah. But
yeah.
I agree with you so far. Continue.
But yeah, I mean, Yam's looking her butthole in the background. But I agree with you when you earlier said that, you know, all the acting was good. Like everyone played their roles well and made me like or dislike them accordingly. It like you said, yeah, it's just fluff, like filler. The deaths were cool. I think that's probably why I'll give it a 2.5 is because like choking somebody with a yo-yo, pretty hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dumpster truck. Yeah, that was really neat. Yeah, they're finally using the cat tree to scratch. And I'm like, thank God, that's what you're supposed to do. I always try to tell them, good girl.
Good girl.
Yeah, that's good girl.
Oh.
She's cleaning herself now.
I love when Millie does that. She'll be like it's the funniest looking thing sometimes.
Yeah. The way that like they'll like pull their head back and then like
literally, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
She's here, by the way. She's really right behind.
Oh, she just sleeping.
She's a little lazy kitty. She loves napping.
Good.
I let her out for her adventures during the day, like when I go to work, and then she comes in when I'm here and she just naps.
And she just sleeps. What a good baby. But yeah, I think overall it's just a 2.5 for me. Like the acting was good. The storyline just felt played out and like maybe it was time to move on from Andy kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, they did kind of do that well, I suppose. It was like a well attempted shot. It just didn't quite get there all the way.
Missed the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, again, if you are interested in the Chucky series and like Chucky, World of Chucky, you definitely should still watch this film. It is part of like a classic trilogy. But kind of following the rules of the trilogy from Scream or like for the sequels and stuff. You know, the third one got to be bigger and better, but up the ante, but it just didn't happen for this one.
Yeah. It's like, and like I said too earlier, it kind of felt like they just kind of did same formula. They just kind of switched a few different numbers, you know? It's like when you test, but the test has the same questions, but the answers, like the questions, but the answers are like different numbers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Like when it's so similar, but it's like the answers, the same process is the same, but like you're going to get a different number.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that is Child's Play 3
from 1991. As always, we are being hosted by the lovely Rogue Media Network Studios. They take great care of us, and you can listen to us and all the other amazing podcasts that are on this network all in one central place, and that is
at roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. And then if you want to listen to us, you can find us on a lot of podcasting platforms, but the biggest two would be
Spotify
and also Apple. And wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way we can get ahead in this world. And if you want to reach out to us, let us know your thoughts on the Chucky or Child's Play series trilogy. You can do so on our Instagram, and that is at
at BOOBAES podcast, because we're your boo babes, not your boo babes.
And then if you want to know what we're covering next, me too.
Me too. We got to figure that out.
I don't know. So
Chucky's
stay tuned.
done.
We're done with Chucky.
For now, we're taking a break.
Yeah, it was a little bit like a chore to watch it. I was like, oh, the third one. Like I like
Mystery Meat again.
I like the first two, but yeah, it did feel like I was like, oh
yeah.
What else? What's gonna be new?
Well, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll figure it out. It'll be something good.
But until then,
or maybe something bad.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. That might be fun to choose like purposely bad movie, like Thanksgiving.
Bad month.
What's coming up? Easter. Let's watch an Easter movie. When's Easter? Did that already happen?
420, I think, this year, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so it's like
Easter's in April. Easter's in April.
I just like dislocated my finger.
And on that note, all right,
until next time, you guys.
Bye, babes.
Bye, babes.
Boobies.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.